Let's talk about HEMA fencing jackets, specifically looking at this superior fencing jacket that I'm wearing here, but also setting some context looking more widely at the available HEMA fencing jackets. Hi folks, Matt Easton here, Schola Gladiatoria. So first up, jackets in HEMA are an absolute essential thing, where if you get involved in the sport, one of the first things you're going to need is a jacket, a mask and some gloves, pretty much to get started. Some people might find that you get gloves and a mask first, but a jacket's going to follow pretty soon after. And for any kind of sparring with steel weapons, it's absolutely essential. Now, there is a link below to Superior Fencing, who've sent me this jacket kindly to review. I did use it for a number of months, and in fact I've had this for quite a while, I think about more than a year, so this review's well overdue. I use a wide number of jackets. I'm going to look at some others here. I'm going to talk more generally about HEMA jackets, why they're required and what you might look for in yours. Now this has very obvious particular styling inspired by the 16th century. So this is known as the Landsknecht jacket. This is $200 I think on the SUPFEM website, so obviously the link below to this product. So Superior Fencing, they've got a whole range of different jackets and various other products. And before I look at the other jackets, I want to also just mention in passing that Superior Fencing make a lot of jackets for other people. So a lot of other jackets that you will find with other labels or from other websites are actually made by Superior Fencing. So, generally speaking, fencing jackets, what are they? Well, they're something to protect your body, obviously from the weapon, from the blunt practice weapon, if I just grab one at random. So to protect you from blows to some degree, so they'll have some degree of padding in them usually, or depending, we'll talk about that in a second, depends on the types of weapons you like to be using. And obviously for impacts from thrusts as well. But also they're there to protect you in case a blade breaks. This one, for example, is 800 Newton rating. Now, what does that actually mean? Generally speaking, this is something that comes from modern Olympic style fencing, modern sport fencing. Things are generally rated to either 350 newtons or 800 newtons. And modern competitions, HEMA and Olympic fencing, will have certain, very often anyway, have certain criteria for what you're allowed to wear and what you're not allowed to wear in some cases in competition to cover themselves in insurance terms. Now, I just want to briefly mention something about that. I think some people are under the misapprehension that if something is Newton rated, it is stab proof. It is not. Do not think that you can put on a plastron and one of these jackets and think that you're now stab proof if you go out in the street fighting crime like Batman at night. You will get stabbed. So unfortunately, these Newton ratings, they confer a certain level of penetrative protection, but they are not stab proof at all. So many years ago now, a friend of mine actually bought some Newton rated, 800 Newton rated stuff and stuck a kitchen knife straight through it. Okay, so they're not stab proof, they're not stab vests. I don't want anyone to go into risky situations thinking this is a stab vest. It's not. It's just a level of protective ability in case a blade breaks. The other misapprehension is that 350 Newton and 800 Newton only relates to penetration. Okay, it tells you nothing whatsoever about the shock absorbency against blows, for example, or indeed thrusts, blunt thrusts, where you've got a blunt end on the end of a weapon. So you can still get broken bones through these, and for those reasons, these have additional plates sometimes of foam and sometimes plastic built into them, or you wear those additionally on the outside. And fencing jackets are not historically a new thing. This isn't something new we've invented for HEMA. This is something that already existed. In fact, there are some original fencing jackets that still survive, and they're built pretty much in the same way. In fact, they're not dissimilar at all to what I'm wearing here. So there are examples which survive from the 17th century, and they actually have baleen or whalebone, much like a corset, built into them to help protect against those impacts as well. So in fact, the idea is completely not new, it's completely traditional. Fencing jackets have been around for a long time. Now, you might love the style of this jacket, or you might absolutely hate it, or anywhere in between. But what jacket you choose is actually dependent on a wide number of factors. It might be cost, it might be what style you like the look of, it might, very importantly, what type of weapon you practice, and we're going to come back to that in a second. It might be what other people in your club wear, what colours are it's available in, and what kind of uniform you might have in your club. Also, competitions you might be entering. What criteria? Does it have to be 800 Newton rated? This type of stuff. Does it have to look historical to a certain period? Does it, this kind of thing. So there's a huge number of varieties, and for that reason, there's many jackets available in the world of HEMA, including, if you check the link down below, on the Superior Fencing website. A whole bunch of different jackets for different things that suit different weapons. And on that point, so I want to be clear that I wear a number of different jackets, and while I used this jacket for several months, I don't generally use it as one of my regular jackets. Let's have a look at my jackets that I do use the most. So the jacket I use at the moment is from HEMA Supplies, run by my friend Scott Brown over in the United States. This jacket is not, unfortunately, widely available in Europe. You can order from HEMA Supplies, but bear in mind, obviously, you're going to pay shipping and import taxes as well. But for people watching in the USA, or if you have some other kind of reseller who has a deal with HEMA Supplies, then this will be available to you. And I got this directly through Scott, that's why I've got it here, but it might not be a financially viable option for most people in the UK, unfortunately. But this is a great jacket. However, I did take a number of the internal plates out, but that's an option because the internal plates, which are actually foam sheets, essentially, in key places, are in pockets and you can take them out. I think that was initially designed primarily for washing, so you can take the plates out and then throw it in the washing machine, which is great. However, I tend to wash it just with the plates in, which you can also do. But I took the plates out because they were too rigid. I just didn't need that much. So I took a lot of the plates out of the body. And the plates I left in are essentially around my elbows and lower forearm, which is great because it means I've got built-in elbow cups in here, which perfectly suits the weapons that I tend to use the most in fencing these days. Primarily sabre, rapier and dagger, sword and buckler, and very occasionally things like longsword, spear, bayonet, this type of stuff. So having those elbow protectors in there, super useful. So this jacket suits me, and it's also got a double layer on the front here. So it's actually got a fair amount of frontal protection from thrusts, which is super important in what I do. Okay, so this is what I would regard in terms of protection as a medium tier jacket. That is, it will apply to lots of weapons in the middle ground, but it might not offer enough, at least with the plates taken out as here, it might not offer enough protection maybe for longsword competition, depending on your abilities, how often you get hit, and your preferences, how much you mind being hit or hurt. And at the lower end, you will find it's too big and bulky for something like small sword, for example, or épée de combat. So fundamentally, this is a mid-tier or mid-level jacket. I really like it. It's got great mobility. It's well made. It's held together really well. It's got stretchy bits at the cuffs. It's the right kind of length and shape for what I personally like. And it's not too hot, it's not too bulky, it breathes relatively well. Now that HEMA Supplies jacket, for me, the Schola, that is incidentally on the HEMA Supplies website, has basically replaced the AP Light from SPES. Okay, so this was my previous mid-tier or mid-level jacket. But actually putting one on after the other, I can tell you that the HEMA Supplies Schola jacket actually has more protection, more padding than this, probably partly because I used this for many years and the padding has kind of compressed a bit. So this is actually essentially, this is the AP Light jacket, not the standard AP from SPES, is now essentially a slightly lighter jacket than the HEMA Supplies Schola. This is a good jacket, nothing wrong with it. I just replaced it after many years of use with the HEMA Supplies one there. But again, this is a kind of mid-tier jacket, probably overkill, definitely overkill for something like small sword, but pretty good for sabre. But one thing to note about it is it has no protection other than what you can see for the forearms and elbows, so you have to wear whatever you choose to wear on your arms. I would definitely recommend an elbow cup, and for most people probably some form of forearm protection for something like sabre or sword and buckler. Maybe not for rapier. For rapier you might want to add a chest protector underneath because it's not got a huge amount of padding in the middle of the chest, not as much as the HEMA Supplies jacket. But there we go. It's kind of, I would say it's a previous generation. If we were talking about jet fighters, this is maybe a third generation fighter, and that one is a fourth generation. So another jacket that I used to wear absolutely tons is the officer jacket from SPES. Another really good jacket, and this is a lighter option, more minimal option, more 19th century in look rather than medieval, and I was using it for sabre quite a lot. Two downsides to this. One is it doesn't have really much protection at all, so anything that you want additionally on your elbows, arms, possibly your chest, you have to add to it. So elbow cups, maybe a forearm protector. if you feel you need it, or unless you have a long cuff for a glove. And possibly a plastic chest protector underneath. I know a number of people who wear plastic chest protectors underneath these, both for sabre and for rapier, because of the number of thrusts they're receiving in the middle of the chest, and this doesn't have an awful lot of protection right where the sternum is there, because it is fundamentally a thinner jacket. Now, one of the great selling points to this was that it was a thinner jacket. I wanted a lower profile, a bit slimmer, and hopefully I wanted to be cooler, because one of the things that really sucks in HEMA is overheating all the time. Unfortunately, and the main reason that I pretty much don't use this jacket very much anymore, I didn't really find it was cooler. Now, I don't exactly know why that is. I think it's partly because of the materials that are chosen for this particular jacket. So although this has got less protection, it's not really lighter. It is lighter in weight, but it's not really cooler, that's the word. Yeah, so there we go. Your mileage might vary, your feelings might vary on this jacket. I love this jacket the way it looks, and a lot of people in my club use this jacket, but they pretty much all add quite a bit to it, and a number of them wear plastic chest protectors underneath as well. But overall, I don't think it's really cooler than necessarily the bigger jackets, which might protect you more. So just to be aware of that. So just to reiterate, the jacket that I use the most at the moment is the HEMA Supplies Schola jacket. But I should also note on the Schola jacket, it is only 350 Newton rated, which means that it might not be sufficient for some competitions you want to enter where they might require that you have 800 Newtons. You can possibly, as long as you check with them, supplement it with a plastron underneath, which means that you would have the required torso protection, but that's something that you need to look into the rules and regulations of competitions you might be entering. But just to be aware of that. I don't necessarily think in reality that this is any less protective than some of the 800 Newton rated jackets for the aforementioned reasons. In many ways, I think this is probably more protective than some of the 800 Newton because only the fabric's being tested, and yeah, so there we go. I think the Newton rating thrust penetratability of these jackets is somewhat open to question and of dubious usefulness, unfortunately, but it's the best we can do for now. Right, finally, this is the other jacket I fairly regularly wear. Now, this jacket's actually great. Unfortunately, it's not widely available anymore. So this was sent to me by then Tempus Fugitives. Now, Tempus Fugitives is now closed down, but the jacket itself is made by PBT, the Hungarian fencing company, who make lots of your epées and masks and other fencing equipment out there. So I've got a number of PBT made equipment in my kit bag, including the epée that I use actually. So this jacket is really light, and it's essentially a modern fencing jacket in black with a few HEMA modifications, I believe. But by and large, it's essentially like a modern, a black version of a modern fencing jacket. Now this is great for small sword, where you don't need anything more. Not only that, but it's cooler because it's thinner, it breathes very well, it's very, very flexible, it's very light, and it gives you a slimmer profile. And importantly, especially with something like epée or small sword, you're less likely to get thrust in the arm, essentially, because you don't have any hanging big folds, and dimensions essentially are different. So when you've got a big jacket like this, both your arm is now a bigger target, but you've also got folds and articulations where points can get stuck in that, well, they won't get stuck in so easily on this type of jacket. So this is absolutely fantastic for if you are doing small sword and epée. But it might also, with some additional bits, for example, if I put a plastic chest protector underneath and a forearm guard and an elbow, might be perfectly enough for some of you using lighter sabres, Italian and French style light sabres, so to speak, or possibly even certain rapier as well, but that's up to you to decide. What I would also say is that this is great for instructing. So obviously I don't want to run a whole class wearing this jacket because I'll be horribly sweaty and hot. But for teaching, this is absolutely fantastic, where I want to have a bit more on than a t-shirt, but I don't want to put a full-on sparring. So for me at the moment, the HEMA Schola jacket and the PBT sort of thin jacket are the main jackets I use. Now, let's have a look at the Landsknecht jacket from Superior Fencing. So the first thing I'll say is this jacket was sent to me by Superior Fencing. It is a standard size. Some of those others that I've shown were particularly tailored for me, and therefore they fit me better. This doesn't fit me fantastically, I have to say. It's a little bit tight across the back and the arms are a little bit short. So essentially, obviously your sizes and shapes will vary. I generally find in standard sizes of jacket, it doesn't matter which manufacturer I go to, I generally find that for a given size, I'm probably an M around my waist, but an L or sometimes an XL around my chest. Now that's not that's not me trying to say I have some amazing physique, but it's just a lot of the jackets out there are rather big around the middle and rather tight around the top, or I end up completely swamped if I get one which is big enough around here. So, you know, we're all different shapes, and I will say that this jacket isn't a fantastic shape for me, and that's one of the reasons that I stopped using it. Not for any other particular reasons, although there are some little reasons, and I'll mention those in a second. But it was basically because this isn't as comfortable for me as some of the other jackets are. That being said, it performed fantastically. It protected me very, very well, and it all held up. I mean, it looks almost new, and I used this for a number of weeks in, you know, twice a week, 3 times a week, in some cases sparring, and it looks like absolute brand new. So the stitching quality, the fabric quality, the zip quality, everything on this is really, really well made, and it's no surprise to me that a number of other manufacturers, or should we say dealers, have gone to Superior Fencing to get jackets made by them, because they do a really good job. Right, the other thing is this has removable plates, much like one of the other jackets we looked at there, so you can modify it to suit you. And I think I took some of the plates out of the, trying to remember now because it was months and months ago, probably a year ago. I did take some plates out to make it a little bit lighter. Right, okay, let's get this. Before I zip it up, that's what I'm showing you here, I want you to note that the zip comes down to belly button height, okay? So although you can see this has got flaps, so to speak, and we'll talk about those in a second, although these has got flaps, the zip only comes down to here. So functionally, when you're wearing the jacket, it feels like it ends there, like any other jacket. Don't think that because it looks long it feels long. Right, so as mentioned, this is clearly a 16th century styling of garment. It's called the Landsknecht. In fact, the style of it, I would say, is later than classical Landsknecht period. To me it looks late 16th century rather than early 16th century, but anyway. It's got poofy sleeves essentially, and it's got these Elizabethan flappy bits down here. We'll talk about those in a second. So once it's on, as I say, the fit isn't fantastic on me, but you can probably get custom sizes, or just make sure, have a look at their measurement chart. For me, the sleeves come out a little bit short, so just to be aware of that you might find that for your given size you end up with short sleeves. This doesn't matter if you've got long cuffs on your gloves, or if you're wearing other certain equipment like forearm protectors or something necessarily, and sometimes it's the same thing with actual real armour as well. Sometimes having armour that finishes a little bit short is better than having it finish too long and be in the way of the articulation of your wrists. So, you know, your mileage might vary. But anyway, for me, the sleeves are a bit short. The mobility is pretty good, although I will say that, personally speaking, these little flappy bits, like Game of Thrones shoulders that you get from Elizabethan era clothes, you do actually feel them when you raise the arms, and it's a little bit like wearing armour when you have spaulders or pauldrons up there. You can kind of feel the resistance as they get closer to your head, and this is a little bit exacerbated when you're wearing a mask as well. So I have to say, although they look cool and they do provide definitely extra protection, just show you on here, those little flaps there above the poofy bit, it's like almost like an epaulette. That does provide extra protection to the point of the shoulder, but you can feel it. So you do feel resistance as you come up here. And having all of this material here does squish between that line between your shoulder and your elbow. You can feel it. Now on the subject of these poofy bits, another reason I stopped using this jacket personally in sparring is because you get things caught in there. Now, this seems obvious to me. Now, I know a lot of people out there like to wear poofy pants in HEMA. It's become hugely popular to wear sort of Renaissance pantaloons. Personally, I'm not a fan of them, because to me, it means you kind of get hit sometimes when you're not hit, because a thrust, for example, can go into the fold there and would have completely missed your arm, and it kind of channels it into your arm, or just catches in the fabric and didn't actually hit you, but it's definitely going to get declared as a hit. The other person thinks they hit you. You can't really say, I wasn't hit, because you've got a blade sticking out of the fabric. And if you were in a tournament and someone were judging, they would see that as a hit. So I kind of see making your body bigger as a really stupid thing to do, unless you want to concede points, essentially. So Personally, not a fan of this poofiness. I think it's potentially dangerous in that a broken blade is more likely to get channeled in and penetrate through there. And just recreationally, with any sort of weapon, you're more likely to get things caught in there, which is just quite annoying. And personally, I don't like the look of them. And that's a personal thing. You might absolutely love them. Poofy pants, we'll deal with those another time. Right, so I'm not a fan of the poofy sleeves. That being said, they are fantastically made, and I want to keep coming back to this. So even if you hate this jacket, and I don't hate it, but I don't really like it for a number of reasons that I'm explaining here. But I have no qualms going back to Superior Fencing and picking another jacket from them, because the quality of this thing is brilliant. Now, I'm not going to name names, but there were a couple of manufacturers in the slightly earlier days, let's say a decade ago, of HEMA, who didn't have great quality stitching. It came undone, and didn't have very good quality zips. And some of those zips, like every single jacket I saw, the zip broke at some point. This zip seems to be really well made. I think people have learned with time. They're using better quality zips now. Right, the internal extra protection is purely foam sheet. I'll just grab one here because I've not got one of the sheets out, but it is made of the same kind of material as pipe lagging or insulation. Okay, so it's nothing special, it's nothing space age, but I have to say it does the job. And it's easily replaceable. So if the foam just, I don't know, crumbles or gets torn or something, or you want to change the shape of it, it's all easy. Okay, and I actually quite like that. Now, this particular jacket doesn't have anything really at the elbow. All you can see here, you can see it's kind of quilted. That's all it's got on the forearm, all it's got on the elbow. So for me personally, to use this for sabre, I've got to wear an elbow cup. To use this for longsword, I've got to add an elbow cup and a forearm protector. So, you know, I've got to add things to this, which I don't have to do with the Schola jacket that I normally wear. Right, okay, in terms of the design of the actual torso, I have no issues at all. What I would say is the overlap, where one side of the jacket comes over the other, is relatively slim down here. It's much bigger on the Schola jacket, and I prefer that bigger overlap because it means that I don't have to wear a plastic chest protector, because I've essentially got 2 layers of jacket right on the front where you're going to receive most thrusts, whether it's longsword, sword and buckler, rapier. Most thrusts that aren't in your limbs or fencing mask are going to come into the middle of your torso up here, so it's great having that extra level of protection. And of course, if a blade broke, you know. Right, so in terms of the other sort of flexibility, it's all fine. As I say, although it looks long, it finishes at the waist. Now let's talk about the flaps. So these flaps are quite simple. You've essentially got 2 at the front, a bit like tassets on armour. You've got side tassets at the side, and you've got a little one at the back. Now the one at the back has no plate or no foam in it. The ones at the front and the side, they have foam in them. So these do provide really valuable protection to your groin and upper thighs. Now this is actually the thing I most like about this jacket. So as you would have seen with all those other jackets I showed, they all finish at the waist. Now the advantage of that is it doesn't impede you coming down into a really low stance or bending or doing any of these things, but neither do these flaps. So one of the problems that some jackets make is they go, well, we want to add some groin protection and some thigh protection, so we'll just elongate the jacket. Doesn't work, because the problem is as soon as you crouch down or even lift your knee up, it pushes the whole jacket up like this, which in some cases can make the mask pop off the front of your face. Really annoying. These flaps are great because, I'll tell you what, I'll stand on a chair so you can see even better, because, look, they are completely independent of each other and can expand and contract. So they actually work great. I'm not saying they necessarily look great and you might hate them, but they work fantastically. And particularly in sabre and longsword, I would say, and sword and buckler as well, actually, and sword and shield, you do get blows which come down at this height. I've been hurt by blows which have hit me in the butt, which have hit me in the hip bone, and which have hit me in, obviously, the groin. Everyone's been hurt in the groin at some point, and the top of the thighs. And this pretty much completely alleviates that. So, Oh, and the final thing, necks. Okay, so most jackets now have got a more or less similar solution of what's called a blade catcher. So they have a fold over here. So you've got several layers of fabric here, and it's quite relatively stiff, and that's underneath the bib of your fencing jacket. But also, if something came up and underneath, it should hopefully get trapped underneath there. And a lot of jackets have that feature now, so I often forget to mention it as something special because so many of them have it and should have it, I would say. So to conclude, I'm not a big fan of this jacket, but it is very well made. So Superior Fencing made a really nice product here. It's just not for me personally. It doesn't really suit any of the particular styles or weapons. I mean, theoretically, it should go well with my rapier and dagger stuff, but as I said, I don't want to give my opponent something extra to put their thrust into and get caught in, or, you know, whether it's with the rapier or the dagger. So personally, I'm not a fan of this for modern sort of sporting applications, and even potentially from a safety point of view as well, because I think it leads to a slightly enhanced percentage of chance of the blade breaking and things like this. So I'm not a big fan of this jacket personally. You might love it, and I know huge numbers of people out there are using this jacket and loving it, and that's absolutely fine. It's just not for me personally, but Superior Fencing have made a good product. I have no qualms with the service such that, I mean, obviously it's a free sample for me, so with the service such that it was rendered to me was good. I think the price is reasonable, $200. Their website has got loads of options on it. They're very well made. They make stuff for other people, so I have no qualms in suggesting that you get jackets from them. I'm just not a fan of this jacket, but I want to just reiterate that I am a fan of these flaps, so to speak. And I think this is a really good solution for protecting this sort of middle height of the body, protecting the groin. It makes things less likely to catch in the groin. A lot of people wear a separate skirt. I used to. I now just wear good quality breeches. But I think these flaps are actually a really good thing. Even if I don't necessarily love the style of them, I think functionally they work really well. Anyway, I hope this has been a useful review. It's been a bit more, obviously, than a review of just the Superior Fencing product here. It's been a partial review of some other companies as well. But I would personally be very interested in looking at other jackets that Superior Fencing have developed, and also perhaps developing something with them as well, because I think, you know, every club, every weapon, even every style within a weapon. So, you know, Italian Radelli sabre is not the same as British John Musgrave Waite sabre. You know, they are different styles with perhaps slightly different priorities. And different clubs have different cultures, different competitions have different rules and different safety requirements and stuff like this. So I think lots of jackets is a good thing. And for you personally, you'll probably be able to start off HEMA, probably with no jacket, but you'll get one jacket and that will last you fine for a while. But as you do more weapons and more styles and do more things, you'll probably find you end up with 2 or 3 or even 4 or more jackets. I, on a weekly basis, take 2 jackets with me to class, and I am often switching between those 2 jackets, sometimes even 3 in the past, but that becomes quite a lot to carry. But yeah, so there we go. I hope this has been useful. Check out Superior Fencing's link below. I know they're very keen to look at new products and work with people all the time, so by all means get in contact with them. Thank you to Superior Fencing for sending this jacket for a review. I might not have loved this jacket, but I like the way it's built and stuff like that, so I'm very keen to see other products from Superior Fencing. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. I have been Matt Easton, and of course, I will be again next time as well. Bosh! See you! Thanks for watching. We've got extra videos on Patreon. Please give our Facebook a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Cheers, folks.